Good morning, I'm Sharaad Kuttan and welcome to BFM's Morning Headlines, and we look at the front pages of the mainstream media. Now, what is the news agenda for the day? Well, according to the Star, it's this. It is the story of the Selangor crisis reaching some sort of conclusion, but is it really the chosen one? Now, this is not the Lion King. This is not a question of somebody being anointed as the leader. This is a question of democracy. It's not the chosen one. The question the newspaper really should be asking is, what is the role of the palace? Is it to formally appoint or is it to select? And of course, when you start to select, then you're involved in politics. And should the palace be involved in politics? I think that's a big question. If you're interested in this and questions of the constitutional monarchy that we have as a system, you might want to check out Sultan Nazrin Shah of Perak. He wrote a piece and published by the Institute of Southeast Asian Studies in 2004 about the role of the monarchy in modern Malaysia. Talking about politics, Sinar Harian has this story, and of course it comes from the PAS Muktamar recently concluded on Saturday. Shahari, here is a PAS state assemblyman accused by the party president of being induced to support this lady, the PKR choice for Menteri Besar. This thing is really about the rift that's going on in PAS, and he's saying, well, prove that I was corrupt, that there was in fact some sort of inducement. So he's challenged his party president. Now, the Utusan has the story of the UPSR leaks and that, but of course, there on top of it, Siapa Menteri Besar Baru Selangor, 3 men who were interviewed by the Sultan. Now, this is of course going against the general principle, or the constitutional principle, that it is the person with the majority support in the assembly who gets chosen as the Menteri Besar. And of course, that is one Azizah of Kajang. She was not interviewed. We're looking at potentially a constitutional crisis ahead of us. So Berita Harian has this front page, is because about the UPSR leaks. Straits Times has that as well. Both papers cover in orange, very similar to yellow, which is the color of the royals. Of course, there was a recent demonstration in support of the royal house in any decision it made on the Selangor MB crisis. Needless to say, it was led by Barisan Nasional. This, because might not have anything to do with the question of the politics being played out. But I think it's important to note that even the royals are part of and framed within the Constitution, which is my word of the day, the Constitution. The Constitution frames us all and all institutions, including the institution of the royalty. No institution is outside that. The Sun has this story, a very interesting one, about zero dividends for people over 75 who still have their money in EPF. Question is, why do they still have their money in EPF? And why should they be discriminated when people take out their money or when they stop having to contribute after 60? They can keep their money in, but people between 60 and 75 still get dividends. Those over 75 don't. A very interesting point that's made here, because much of the article hangs on the interview with the former MTUC president, that's because the Malaysian Trade Union Congress, Zainal Rampak. He says that the law is discriminatory and doesn't make sense. The EPF says, well, you know, EPF is not a savings account. You don't have to keep it there. But they still don't explain why people between 60 and 75 get dividends and those over 75 don't. And the last story is Malay Mail. Here it is, a story about errant employers, 10,000 of them who are not paying minimum wage. This, of course, affects a lot of Malaysians who are struggling to make ends meet. We look forward to understanding how the government intends to enforce the minimum wage that it, in fact, enacted. So that's all we have, but do check out our other videos. They're, of course, 89.9 seconds, Kupas and Sekilas. All these are available for you to enjoy and to stimulate your mind. So all I have for you this morning. I'm Sharaad Kuttan, BFM 89.9.